Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, the open session. I would ask that everyone stand and join us in the singing of O Canada.
The true north, strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Would you please join us in a moment of silent reflection? Thank you. Councillor MacDonald, I believe you have the adoption of the open session agenda.
Yes, I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Richardson, that the agenda for the open session of the regular council meeting for Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 be adopted as circulated with the following amendments. Additions, item 6.4 being a deputation by Kelly Shellswell regarding the proposal surplus declaration and the closure of the sale of the portion of the road allowance between 447 and 451 at Cambrai Road. Item 7.2 being correspondence regarding the municipal representation of the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee vacancy, and a deletion of item 6.3 being a deputation of Sean Ray regarding a license agreement with Hickory Beach Dock Owners Association.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on anything on today's agenda? Councillor Joyce?
Yes, item 9.3.14.
What's your pecuniary interest?
With regard
Oh.
to, not mine, Councillor.
When we get there, you'll extract it,
Okay.
and Councillor Yule will look
Okay.
after it. Thank you. See, okay,
Sorry, I should declare it now.
okay,
I have pecuniary interest in 9.3.14.
thank you.
What the nature of it, or
Go ahead.
it deals with property my sister owns.
Thank you. Seeing no, other than that, if any conflicts arise during the course of the meeting, advise the chair and we'll deal with them accordingly. Before we get to notices, you'll note that we're short 3 councillors today. We're not really. Councillor Smeaton is under the weather, but he's zooming in to us. Councillor Ashmore is traveling, and he's zooming as he travels. And Councillor Warren is traveling, and I believe she's having problems connecting, so maybe she'll join us later. Are there any notices and information by members of council? Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of notices there. The week of April 10th, we will be resuming the Omimi downtown reconstruction, and this is an ongoing project, and this will be basically phase 2 of the construction, and the plan is to have everything wrapped up by the middle of the year. So the village of Omimi is really transforming itself, and it'll look great when it's completed around the middle of the year. Second thing, I just wanted to congratulate John Thurston. John Thurston, Paralympian champion who lives in Dunsford, and he's competing in the wheelchair curling championships in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan this week. So best of luck to him and his team. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smeaton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just a few things. Excuse me. April 8th is an Easter egg hunt at the Armories Park. And although it's only 6 spaces left, an idea I had was, you know, a lot of seniors might enjoy just going anyway and seeing all those kids having fun and doing things. And I know a lot of the seniors I talk to, they just love watching kids be kids. So something to keep in mind, even though it's such a success that it's already pretty much been sold out. The Kawartha Singers have a concert this Sunday at 2:30. I'd like to endorse that at Cambridge Street United. April 1st, the Kawartha Concert Band, also at Cambridge Street United. Great ensembles in Ward 5 and in the community at large. So I hope people will come out. Really quickly, the last 2 things, I'd like to point out the Urban Canopy, which is close to the Urban Canopy project for Kawartha Lakes is launching its 2023 campaign. And their goal is to raise $30,000 to create basically urban canopies in schools. And that's why it's something that I've always loved so much. And if people would consider signing up and donating a tree, the cost is $30, and I'll be posting that information to Facebook after this meeting. And last but not least, let's get those Ward 5 fields and parks full of kids this spring and summers. Maybe families could start planning the sport that they're going to play. Even though we're still in the midst of snow, I'm hearing Cardinals, so maybe it's time to get planning for the spring. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. I got a few items. March 4th, I attended the Lex for the upcoming plowing match 2024. A lot of excitement out there, and everybody was well attended, and everybody's looking forward to that for sure. On March 12th, I was also invited to the Armories for a presentation by the Muslim community. They did a great job, and I was well received on that day. And also went to the home show this weekend. Lots of vendors are out there, excited just to be back to show off all their exhibits and so on. It was interesting also. And the last but not least, I'd like to give a big shout out to the Lindsay Pastimers. It's my hockey team. They're in Vancouver right now. They represent Lindsay. This is our fifth World Cup. It happens every 4 years. And because of COVID, it's been delayed for 2 years. So today they're playing at 3:30 against Switzerland, and I just wanted to wish them good luck and hope they do well. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Richards.
Thank you, and through you, just a few announcements. In Bethany, the Bethany Bears is hosting a spaghetti dinner on Friday, March 31st, 5 to 7, and it will be at the Bethany United Church. On April the 1st, Saturday, Members Historical Society has a CD Saturday from 10 till noon at the Old Bethany Post Office. Number 3, Omimi Swans are having a craft sale at the Omimi Legion on April 1st. And just to mention that all the softball registrations in all the smaller communities is open now, and sign up the kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mayor. Fenland Falls residents are getting ready for the rain this spring season. And while April showers may indeed bring May flowers, they also bring stress on local sewer systems and roadways. And with that in mind, I'm very proud to announce that we have procured 150 50-gallon rain barrels, which will be given away for free to Fenland Falls residents on a first-come, first-served basis on Saturday, April 1st at Hanley Lumber in Fenland Falls from 9:30 till noon. To qualify for this distribution, one must be on the sewer water, the Fenland water and sewer system, and pre-registration for the barrels will be available very soon. One can also email fenlandrainbarrels@gmail.com. I know that the engineering department at the city has been doing a lot of work with regards to ensuring our sewer capacity, and that work is ongoing. This is a way that local citizens, local residents of Fenland Falls can take action and be part of the solution. And I want to make sure that that we thank MDM Developments, the Kawartha Group, and TD Consulting for contributing to the cost of the barrels. Hanley Lumber is providing them at cost, and this is a partnership with the Fenland Falls Horticultural Society, which will be continuing with barrel distribution following the April 1st distribution. So if you don't get one the first time, you may be able to get one at a later date. Also, May brings the Kawartha Lakes Country Living Show to Fenland Falls, as usual, as is our tradition. And just a note, it's 75% sold out already, at least. So if you were looking for a booth or to have a presence, be sure and visit countryliving.show.ca. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
That's a good initiative on the rain barrels. Thank you for doing that. The CAO and I attended the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, and during the 2 days we worked on their strategic plan, which fits very nicely into our own strategic plan in terms of their focusing on affordable housing, affordable rental housing, and of course we have a waiting list between here and Haliburton County of some 1,500 names for affordable housing, so that's a really good initiative. It's part of their 7 and 7 program, which is build 7,000 affordable units in 7 years in Eastern Ontario. They're also focused on community paramedics, which of course is near and dear to our hearts here, and also on long-term care, which is another thing that we look after for our seniors here in Kawartha Lakes. So it was a productive 2 days for us, and I don't know if the CAO wants to add anything to that. Thank you. So, notices from staff? No? All's good? That's a good sign. So we'll move on with the agenda. Our next item is item 5, which is council minutes. And can I have a motion that the minutes of the February 14th, 2023 special council meeting, the February 21st, 2023 regular council meeting, and the February 28th, 2023 regular council meeting be received and adopted? Councillor Perry, Councillor Yeo. Comments or questions? All in favor? And that's passed. We'll now move into deputations, and our first deputation is an update on the Summit Wellness Center, Cobeconk, and we have Ian Forrester from the Cobeconk-Norland and Area Chamber of Commerce on Zoom, and we have Ms. Jennifer Wilson, who is the general manager of the Cobeconk Chamber of Commerce. And I think there's a button at the bottom. If you press, your mic will be on. So you have 5 minutes, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Jennifer Wilson, and as you know, Ian is with us on Zoom. We'll hope that he can join us through the whole meeting. He is out of the country and therefore might lose us halfway through, but we'll do our best to keep going forward. It's been a long while since we've come before you to provide an update on the Summit Wellness Center, a collaborative project between the municipality and the Chamber of Commerce and the community. We're extremely appreciative of Council's partnership in this project that will provide much needed health and wellness services, community gathering space, and will positively impact the local economy for many years to come. The community is really excited to see this project completed. We provided a glimpse of the design and interior layout of the Summit Wellness Center in your packages to try to capture the work that has been done to date. In an attempt to give you a brief but full picture, I'll run through a few of the highlights of the project's current status in the areas of design and construction, the cost for construction, and funding. And if you'd like, we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have regarding future tenants and partners and next steps from here. In the area of design and construction, site plan application was submitted in August 2021, and we understand now that all approvals have been given for the project to proceed with site plan approval. A plan is in place to temporarily move the original train station building off of its current and fractured foundation to allow for the new foundation to be constructed. And architectural design drawings are complete for the historic building and the new construction. Next step is construction drawings, which will allow us to apply for a building permit. The architects are ready to proceed immediately with this, which will take approximately 3 to 4 months of time to complete. In the meantime, we can get started on the site works. Time is really critical right now in order to not miss the upcoming construction season. So next, the costing of the Summit Wellness Center construction. Back at the beginning of 2021, we required a cost report in order to apply for a couple of grants we were chasing. We recently had that cost report updated given our progress in the design and the current supply chain environment. So here's what we see for that new report. Construction of the base building, including shell, HVAC, electrical, fixtures, consultant fees, is $11.5 million. On top of that, we've built in a contingency fund of $2 million, and the projected cost of the civil works is $2.5 million, giving a total budget envelope of $16 million. We take it as our mission to minimize the use of the contingency fund and to find savings at every turn possible. One of the greatest areas of interest to us all, I think, is the funding of the project overall. The Chamber has submitted multiple funding applications to date. Some have been successful and some have not been successful, and we'll continue to chase down every opportunity we can in order to confirm additional funding. So here's a quick summary of the confirmed funding so far. We can start with the municipality. On May 17th, 2022, Council allocated up to $10 million for the Summit Wellness Center. Since that time, the Chamber and municipal staff have been in negotiations to arrive at an agreement that would govern access and use of those funds. A draft of that MOU is being presented to Council today by the City Solicitor, which is really exciting for us. Second, the Chamber applied to the MTO for 2 items. First, permission to construct a second entrance on the Legion Park parcel, which is an exception to their policy. And for those who know us well, you know that we wouldn't stop with just asking for permission to have that entrance, but we also asked that the MTO pay to construct that entrance, saving the expense from the Wellness Center project budget overall. We were successful on both counts, and the new driveway entrance was installed in the fall of 2022, with finishing touches scheduled for spring of 2023 by the MTO. Next, the Ministry of Health, working in partnership with the Kawartha North Family Health Team and with the support of MPP Lori Scott, the Chamber successfully applied for capital funding through the Ministry of Health. We're working through their extensive process, and at its conclusion, the province will announce the specific amount that they are allocating to the project. And finally, community fundraising. This was a real eye-opener for us. We really had no idea at the beginning of our community fundraising campaign how long it would take us to raise $1 million, given the small communities in our area. And we were shocked, really shocked, to reach our goal in less than 1 year from the time that we launched the campaign. With donations from Coboconk, Norland, Kirkfield, Fenland Falls, Lindsay, and further afield, the Chamber raised $1 million with more than 1,500 donations for the construction of the Summit Wellness Center, a clear signal that the services that are planned are much needed. We believe there are more people willing to support the Wellness Center, but they are waiting until the construction begins to jump on board. We will also continue to search for other grant opportunities at the federal and provincial levels to complement and/or offset the $10 million allocated by the municipality. Areas of focus for those grant opportunities that we see are rural economic development, arts and heritage, green and environment initiatives, community buildings, recreation, accessibility, and community development. I'd like to just note that there's extensive background information on the Wellness Center and the process we followed to determine the kinds of services needed in the building and the sites that we considered prior to selecting the Legion Park site. And we included links to that information in the written project report provided in your packages today. And of course, either Ian or myself are always really happy to talk about all of the process that we followed to get where we are today, anytime. To conclude our deputation for today, I'd like to thank Councillor Yeo for his assistance time and time again during the last 3 years, and to thank all of Council for your enthusiastic commitment to the Summit Wellness Center now and over the past 3 years. It's a big investment, and it's one that will have positive impacts on the health of the community and the economic growth of the area for a long, long time to come. We can't wait for the day when we can all celebrate together that as we open the doors for the first time. Thank you.
Thank you. Great project. And let's see if council has any questions for you. Councillor Yeo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming today. Jen, for bearing with us in this still winter, and Ian for cursing you forever you are sitting on a boat in some sunny destination. But, I guess the biggest question is, and it's not really a question, I know most of the answer, but perhaps you could fill council in when you mention partners and who's involved with the chamber going forward and into the future. Maybe you could just give us an idea of the partnerships being formed.
Well, right now, thanks for the question, Emmett. Right now, we're our main partner for the actual medical part and the coordination with the Ministry of Health is the Kawartha North Family Health Team, and they've agreed to work with us and to submit. It has to, through the Ministry of Health's process, everything has to be done a certain way, and they're the only ones that are allowed to do it, the Kawartha North Family Health Team. So they're carrying the ball there with support from us. We've got the food bank involved. We've got a drugstore. We've got our community groups. All of them will be available to use the facility for meetings and other things. And we're exploring partnerships with Ross Memorial, with the community care, Dr. Worsley, obviously in town, and anyone else that's come forward as far as chiropractic services, right down to seniors foot care. So we're not closing the door to anyone. We were kind of shocked at the at the interest that we got from everyone when we started this project, and we kind of had to make it grow a little bit. So right now we're at a point where we're going to move ahead with construction with some facility for expansion if it's needed in the future. But that's pretty well where we're at with as far as partnerships go. And of course, the biggest partner we've got right now is the city.
And that's great. I know there's lots of interest, and people are, I've had doctors actually call me at home. And these are, I don't know what kind of doctors they are. They have doctor in front of their name, they introduce themselves, and they tell me how interested they are in what's going on. They ask me about the wellness center, and they're looking forward to the future. So I take that as good news that we actually have medical professionals looking at it as well. So Jen or Ian, what's the next steps? Like from you leave here today, what's the next steps?
The next step is if, like, you guys, as far as the council goes, have been presented with the draft MOU. I believe, which I would like to take a second to thank Robin for her tireless work on this thing. She's been a great partner on this document, and it's been a pleasure to work with her on it. I guess I don't know what happens in your closed session, but I guess once we get approval from council as far as the direction we're headed, then we can kick in. Geez, hold on. Just sorry about that. And now the guy's going to phone back just because that's what they do. So we will be re-engaging our design team and our construction manager. We are going to have to take the MOU back to the chamber board and get approval from them. And as far as we're concerned, after that, everything should fall into place and we'll be full speed ahead. The first thing that will happen, which we're almost set up to do now, we'll just have to get the paperwork going on, is if we have site plan approval, which everyone says we do, then the train station will be lifted off its existing foundation and moved off to the side, and we'll begin the construction of the new foundation under the train station, because the one right now is insufficient in size and condition to support the project. So that's where we're headed. Does that answer your question there?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Now I'll ask the woman who knows everything, and maybe Jen wants to comment too. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, okay. So do you want me to go off my video now? Is that?
I agree with everything. Thank you, Councillor Yeo, for giving me the opportunity, but I think that Ian has covered a lot of it. We need to send out the tender packages right away in order to get site works underway. There's a lot of work to do on the site, a lot of dirt to move. It'll take time, and while we're working on the final construction drawings, that work can be underway so we can take advantage of the construction season. I think that's it. Thank you.
That's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you both, and thank you both for your tireless work on this project, and also your board and all the folks up in the north who are helping out and coming forward with donations and the help they can give. So let's move it forward and get the wellness center built so we can all start using it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to receive the deputation? Councillor Yeo, seconder Deputy Mayor Richardson. All in favor? And that's passed.
Thank you very much.
Moving on in the agenda, we have item 6.2, which is condominium description exemption application by Aspire Sturgeon Developments. And we have Mr. Tom DeBeer. Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
I won't use it all, I promise. Thank you very much, Mayor and members of council. I'm here representing the developer Aspire, and this has been a challenging project, and I just figured it was appropriate that I'd speak a little bit just about the process we've gone through, just to sort of ease the mind of all, that we're not sort of removing anybody or any process unnecessarily. As some of you are aware, the subdivision has been in existence and under its first draft approval in 1991. It then went through a comedy of various turns and tribulations whereby a lot of it was sold under tax sales and the like. The developer over the last 2 years had picked up the majority of the subdivision. Tirelessly over the last 18, 20 months, myself included, we've been working with the remnant lot holders to either A, include them in the subdivision yet again, or give them opportunities to participate in the condominium itself. Luckily, we have to date secured all but 2 of the building lots. One has chosen to completely remove themselves from the process and is not entering into the condominium and doesn't want to participate in the water access component of the privilege that would entail. And then lot number 11 has joint sort of with the developer to form part of the condominium as an independent individual as part of that process. The balance of the lots were purchased by Aspire, some of which were in the holding of the municipality. There are 2 remnant blocks that are zone environmental protection, which simply are there. They will be there in perpetuity. They were supposed to be there for passive recreation use. Somehow they did come under private ownership. However, again, those individuals did not want to participate in this process. Today in front of you will be the request for the condominium exemption. That process is simply a planning process to allow us to enter into a condominium agreement with the participants of the subdivision for the communal access of the dock space, which will allow additional control through a declaration and the necessary documents. It's not sort of doing anything other than, there's really no planning mechanism to go through that process. And so the exemption, which has been done in several other instances in these similar cases, to facilitate this process. So again, if there's more than anything else, I'm here just to say, if there was any questions, concerns, trying to understand what the motivation was between this ask and hopefully within the next 2 months, finalization and registration of the subdivision, so that this kind developer can start selling houses. I'm just here to answer any additional questions that may arise from the information that was provided. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the deputant? I see none. Thank you for coming today, and we'll see where everything goes. I assume it'll come to planning advisory and be dealt with accordingly. Thank you. I have a motion to receive the deputation. Councillor Yeo, seconded Councillor McDonald. All in favor? And that's passed. We move on. Item 6.3 has been taken from the agenda, so we're on to 6.4, which is proposed surplus declaration, closure and sale of a portion of a road allowance between 447 and 451 Cambrai Road. We have Kelly Shelswell. Good afternoon and welcome, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to council today. Just a follow-up really from our deputation at the Committee of a Whole meeting that took place at the beginning of March. I represent Stephen and Loretta Harrison of 451 Cambrai Road, and we just put forth a counter proposal to purchase the section of land noted as the road allowance between the 2 properties. We're looking for the fair, equitable split of that road allowance, which is before you today, between both parties, and would like to see it get approved and move on to the purchase and sale agreement stage. Just wanted to note that if the other party does not want to enter into the agreement, we would like the option to purchase it in its entirety. And also if we can just touch on the status of the unauthorized encroachment items on the road allowance and what the process would be to deal with those items, or if that would just kind of take place as a condition of the sale agreement. Happy to answer any questions on the proposed split of the road allowance before you, if you have any for me today. Other than that, I won't take up any more of your time.
Thank you. It's on our agenda later under item 9.3.12. And I'll see if there's any questions or comments from council. I see none, and I believe as to your question about the encumbrances on the road allowance, I believe they'll be dealt with at time of sale. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I have a motion to receive the deputation. Councillor Perry, Councillor Smeaton. All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on, that's all for deputations today. Correspondence. We'll move to item 7.1, and 7.1 is municipal representation on the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee selection of candidates. And the Chief Administrative Officer for Kawartha Conservation and the Kawartha Halliburton Source Protection Authority. And I have a motion that the correspondence from the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee regarding municipal representation on the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee selection of candidates be received, and that the Township of Highlands East Deputy Mayor Cecil Ryle be endorsed as the Kawartha Halliburton Municipal Representative on the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee. Can I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Richardson, Councillor Yeo, any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Item 7.2, again, is municipal representation on the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee. And the motion I have is that the correspondence from the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee regarding municipal representation on the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee vacancy be received, and that Paul Pentakanen, Policy Supervisor, be nominated as the municipal representative on the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee for the City of Kawartha Lakes. I have a mover and seconder. Councillor Smeaton, Councillor Deputy Mayor Richardson. Questions, comments? All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on in the agenda, we have no presentations. We'll move into Committee of the Whole. And in Committee of the Whole, we have an extraction on item 9314 by Councillor Joyce.
Yes, that is being extracted as a pecuniary interest for Councillor Yeo.
Yeah, you're moving it as printed, so is there a seconder?
I'll move as printed.
Councillor Perry. Anybody want to speak to it? No? What do you want?
So you're extracting the one item and then go back and you'll do the consent items? Yes. Okay.
Councillor Perry?
Just very briefly, Mayor, there was an issue that had arose or an inquiry by one of the potential purchasers, and I just want to thank Realty Services for their engagement on this issue, and no need to extract it any further.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's passed, and I'll go back. And all of the other, there's one other extraction, which is 9316 by Councillor Smeaton on affordable housing. Other than that, that the minutes of the March 7th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting be received and the recommendations included in section 9.3 of the agenda be adopted, save and accept 9316. I have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Ashmore, Councillor Joyce. All in favor? And that's passed. And Councillor Smeaton, it's to you for 9316.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just had a question for the Director of Human Services. In this, it mentions table 1 of report to be approved, so I understand that. The waiving of the developmental charges, of course, makes complete sense to me, especially for the project like this. So it's great. And then it mentions that the Director of Human Services and the Human Services Manager Housing, Manager Corley, be authorized to execute necessary agreements to provide the incentives to this project. And I just wondered if someone could explain some examples of this, like what would be an example of them providing, or what would be an example of an incentive? Just that sort of conversation is new to me. Thank you.
Director?
Through you to Councillor Smeaton. Sorry, I'm just going back up. Can I just ask for clarification, Councillor Smeaton? It's around the authority that's in the motion.
Yeah, like just an example, it says to, be authorized to execute necessary agreements. So what might some of those, like, are those agreements between you and the developer? Well, I just don't know what those are, sorry.
And I may turn to CAO on this because I'm not aware of this, but
okay.
Nope, but given the delegation of authority bylaw that we have in place for our accountability, it is encompassed within that bylaw, but I will turn it over to CAO Taylor just to talk about past practice because I am not aware.
Sure, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So a couple of things. This is meant to be a catch-all for any agreements that we would enter into for the project to secure and clarify, I'll say, what the exemptions or incentives are for the developer. So it would cover the full range, right, from what was in Table 1, so waiving of fees. It would speak to development charges. It would also speak to any incentives that the Human Services Department can impose through these type of projects. So for example, rent supplement, and what are the conditions around that to offset affordable housing. So it's the entire sort of suite of what are the commitments and incentives for that affordable housing project in its entirety.
Councillor?
Thank you for that clarification. I am going to make a motion. It's a difficult decision. I find when you have difficult decisions, I'm asking myself, does the decision make friends or does the decision make sense? And I will be making a motion. I'd like to make a motion that this not be received until we've had a traffic study back. I still, after a lot of consultation, even more since the last meeting, and I understand very well where people stand. I see this, and I just want to go on the record as having said, I see this as a traffic debacle waiting to happen. I really do. I think it is the perfect project with the perfect developer, with the exact criteria needed, and we are desperately in need of this project. And that's the wrong corner. And so that's my justification. I just want to add quickly that this is an example of somebody who's purchased land already, and then negotiations happen, and then it comes to council. And I just think a team approach from the beginning, if somebody's coming into town and saying, I want to help you with all of these things that you need, and we all agree we need them, maybe sitting down and saying, where might the best location be first, as opposed to getting it now. So I'm speaking my piece. I have to, because I've put a lot of thought into this and I've spoken to many, many people, and I feel it's the wrong spot. So I am making a motion that this be postponed until the traffic studies come back. Thanks.
Director, you know that there was a traffic study done.
Yeah, sorry, I'm referring to the study that was at the planning committee. There's going to be a second hearing. Is that correct? That I know Director Hawley's not here, but was there not a second public hearing because of scheduled? And between now and then, was there not more studies? Maybe I heard that wrong. I apologize if so.
Director Hawley is on the line, so go ahead, Director.
Through the mayor to the councillor, yes, the developer has prepared a traffic study which is currently being peer reviewed by the city's peer review consultant. We had a meeting with the developer yesterday to talk about the impact of the project or impact of the required road widenings by the city on the project, and that's going to be reviewed by the developer as well to see what sort of a project or how that impacts the project. The site triangle requirements are also going to be fed into the the traffic study peer review as well. So there will be some supplemental information that will be coming that we'll be sending to our peer review consultant for review.
Councillor?
Perfect, thank you. I wasn't aware of that, so that's very helpful to me. I can remove this, my motion then, and thank you very much for that clarification. That helps me a lot. Thank you.
So will you move the motion as printed?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, have a seconder? Councillor McDonald? Any other comments or questions? All in favor? And that passes. Thank you. Moving on, that is business and minutes arising from the Committee of the Whole. We'll move on to the Planning Advisory Committee and look for, there are no extractions from Planning Advisory, so I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes. And the minutes of the March 8th, 2023 Planning Advisory Committee meeting be received and the recommendations included in section 10.3 of the agenda be adopted. Deputy Mayor Richardson, seconder, Councillor Ashmore. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Councillor Joyce, I believe you have consent matters.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you, I move consent matters, seconded by Councillor Perry, that all the proposed resolutions in section 11.1 of the agenda be approved and adopted by council in the order that they appear on the agenda and sequentially numbered, save and except for items 11.1.3, 11.1.7, 11.1.8, 11.1.9, and 11.1.10.
Councillor, there was an update to that. 11.19 and 11.17 were removed from the consent, so they can be included in the consent motion.
Should I repeat the numbers?
11.17 and 11.19. Councillor Smeaton removed the necessity for those to be extracted.
Yes, I understand. Should I repeat the?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
So we're only, just so everyone's clear, we're extracting 11.13, 11.18, and 11.10.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. You had a seconder for that?
Yes, Councillor Perry has seconded the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? And that passes. So, Councillor Ashmore, you had 11.13, construction of the Bob Cajun Library.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, I'm no problem with the recommendation and the motion. Just a question about, there's mentioned in there, I was there for the opening, as were many other people. It's a fantastic new library addition, and it's there's no question about that. They've done a great job. Some of the things they do need to repair. One of the things that concerned me when I looked at it was there's a tremendous amount of ice buildup when they join the new building with the existing building. I just want to make sure that they're going to be looking after that as well in these extra funds, because I was just looking at it from inside, looking to the west, and there seems like a lot of ice buildup. We don't want to see that cause any damage in the future, because we put a lot of money into this building. Just wondering if I could just get an answer on if that'll be rectified at all or looked at. Maybe it's a ventilation issue underneath, but hopefully it'll be looked at so we won't have any ice buildup like we have right now. But otherwise, the building looks great, but just wanted to check with that. Otherwise,
Well,
I'll move as printed, but if I could just get an answer on that question,
Let's see
please.
what Director Shanks has to say.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. So while the project is complete, there's still a number of deficiencies that the contractor is correcting as we proceed. So they will be looking at a few different things in the building, whether there's an issue with the lighting, there is still an item with some HVAC that they're taking care of as well. So I've got no doubts that any existing concerns that remain will be addressed.
You good with that, Counselor?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, yeah. I'll move it.
Do you want to make the motion?
Yes, please. I'll move that.
Thank you. Seconder? Counselor Perry. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you. Moving on, 1118, Skills Development Fund. Counselor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I just had, I think the fantastic program is, hi, Ms. Mustard. Thank you for being on board here online. Just had some questions. I think we should be celebrating our successes. So the first 2 rounds of the Skills Development Fund were 1-year projects. We'd love to see some data on that, how successful they were. I know with these kinds of projects, sometimes they're hits, sometimes they're misses. There's no problem with that. It's great to try these things out, and ones that are hits, we build on them. So just would love to see some resulting data. And if they've already been sent to council, I apologize, but I look forward to the reports. The other question I had is, these programs, do you network with other municipalities on same programs and share results and lessons learned going forward?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do. There is a group in Eastern Ontario specifically that speaks around workforce. It is an independent group that comes together as part of Eastern Ontario Economic Development. It does quite a good job of sharing what these projects are and what the lessons are, and compiling a list of all of these different sorts of projects. There's definitely room for more of that to take place as well.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing the reports. I think this is great stuff. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Will you move the motion?
Yes, I move the motion as printed.
Thank you. Seconder? Counselor Perry. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you. And we have item 11110, also Counselor Joyce. That's the DeRoche Municipal Drain.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So the Drainage Board met, we had a public hearing, and it was at that public meeting, it was recommended to refer the drain report back to the engineer. There was the 2 principals that were wanting this, Mr. Little and Mr. Whalen. There was some confusion at that meeting, and I spoke to them since, clarified the matter, and they don't want this referred anymore. So I am recommending to council that council adopted a DeRoche Municipal Drain Engineers Report as prepared by M. Garrett's Professional Engineering, proceed with first and second reading by law to provide drainage works in the city of Kawartha Lakes known as the DeRoche Municipal Drain, and that council instructs staff to make the necessary arrangements for a court of revision to be held on the engineer's report for the DeRoche Municipal Drain.
Seconder? Do you wish to speak to it? Or you have?
I already spoke to it with, yeah.
What? Yep. Deputy Mayor Richardson?
Yeah, I'll provide a couple of comments as well. Thank you, Councillor Joyce, for bringing this back. It was an interesting meeting for both of us as being new members on the Drainage Board, and we certainly learned a lot that night. And I really appreciate the fact that you did reach out to the residents to say, you know, this is the scope of what's going to happen. So I think moving back to the original report and to the Drainage Board on February 15th is prudent at this time. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Councillor Yeo, do you have something?
No, that's just a really well-written motion, so I thought I better. The council really took his time on that one.
He's very talented, you know. We have a mover and seconder. Councillor Ashmore, do you have something?
Yes, please. Just a question for you to Councillor Joyce. I just want to make sure. that everybody was consulted. I think there was a Miss Moss that also had a concern about a few things. And of course, Mr. Whalen and Mr. Little. So everybody is on board now. I wasn't aware that all the issues had been all settled, but if they have been, that's great. But I just want to make sure that everybody who made a deputation have been heard and their issues have been sorted out.
Yes, Councilor Ashmore, my apologies. I didn't know you'd be zooming in. I was going to approach you just prior to this meeting. I should have called you in advance.
That's okay.
But no, I had a long conversation with Mr. Little and Mr. Whalen explaining what would happen if we did refer it, and they very expressly said, no, keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great, thanks, because this is great. You reached out to them because
I also reached out to Linda Moss. She has not called me back, but it's a much more minor issue. It will not adversely affect her situation whatsoever. And there was another Mr. Bruce Webster. I've also reached out to him, who is representing Ms. Moss at that meeting. I've had a long conversation with him. So getting everybody on board with the way the engineer's report has addressed it to where we want to go.
That's great. Thanks for your work there.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's passed. That brings us to the end of the consent agenda. Moving on, item 14 is bylaws, and I believe, Councillor Barry, you have that motion. It won't be in there, it'll be the other. There you go.
Well, yes, I do, Mayor.
Good.
I'd like to move, seconded by Councillor Yeo, that the bylaws shown in section 14.1 of the agenda, namely items 14.1.1, 2 and including 14.1.17, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, numbered, signed, and the corporate seal attached.
Thank you. I have a question for Madam Clerk. With the change to the drain issue, do we need to do anything with bylaws, or is that separate?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council, staff will have to then prepare the first and second reading of the bylaw and bring that back to the next regular council. From that point, if passed, then staff would proceed to the Drainage Board to hold a quarter revision, which would look at any questions of assessment by landowners.
Thank you. I just didn't want us to miss one. You have a seconder. You had a seconder for that?
Councillor Yeo.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on bylaws? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's passed. Item 15 is notice of motion. We have none. So we will move into closed session. And at this point of the meeting, City Council will go into closed session to consider the items under section 16.3 of the agenda. All remaining staff, with the exception of the CAO, City Clerk, and City Solicitor, are now instructed to leave the electronic meeting at this time. As per procedural bylaw requirements, I'm asking all remaining participants in our meeting today to confirm to me by raising their hands that they are in a private room where no other person can overhear the deliberations and the internet connection is secure and not publicly accessible. Please raise your hands to confirm and keep them raised. Thank you. Is that okay? We're good? Can I get a mover and seconder for the following motion? That council convene into closed session at 1:59 PM pursuant to section 239, bracket 2 of the Municipal Act in order to consider matters identified in section 16.3 of the regular council meeting agenda of Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, namely item 16.3.1 to and including 16.3.6. Mover? Deputy Mayor Richardson, Councillor Ashmore. All in favor? And that's passed.
So are we going to, have we approved the agenda?
What?
Have we approved the agenda?
Not yet.
Okay.
Are you breaking for 5?
I will. Okay. At this point, the meeting broadcast will now end for members of the public watching on Cogeco, your TV cable, live stream of the meeting on your YouTube, and the rebroadcast on Cable and Rogers Ignite will now be temporarily paused for members of the public. When closed session is complete, the live stream and rebroadcast of the meeting will resume to address the remaining open session items on the agenda. While we're doing that, can I get a motion? ready to go. So, considering matters from closed session, we go back to 16.3.1 was the minutes from the closed session of confidential closed session minutes for a regular council meeting of February 21st, 2023 were approved. Item 16.3.2, report LGL 2023-002. The city solicitor presented the executed development framework agreement with Flato, Lindsay Community AL, and associated with a ministerial zoning order issued for property owned by Flato Lindsay Community Inc. AL in Lindsay. Do I need a motion for that? Item 16.3.3, the city solicitor presented information to council pertaining to the status of the appeals to the Ontario Land Tribunal, being case number PL 171407 of the secondary plans to the City of Kawartha Lakes Comprehensive Official Plan 2012. The city solicitor received instructions. Item 16.3.4 being report LGL 2023-004. The city solicitor presented information to council pertaining to the status of the construction of the Cobeconk Wellness Center. The city solicitor received instruction. Item 16.3.5 being report LGL 2023-005. The city solicitor presented information to council for its consideration pertaining to an appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal of the decision of the city by the owners of part of lots 7 and 8, concession 6, Gray Road, the Binnies. Council provided instruction to the city solicitor. Item 16.3.6 being report LGL 2023-006. The city solicitor presented information to council for its consideration pertaining to an appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, being case PL 160656. The city solicitor received instruction. Moving on, confirming bylaw, Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of a regular council meeting held on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time passed, numbered, signed, and the corporate seal attached.
All those in favor? And that's passed. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Yo, Councillor Joyce, all in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you all.